And go.
Welcome back, Youngzers, episode 48. Short staff here today, but show must go on. The boat must float in the water. The duck must quack. The cow must moo. The dog may bark. What else, Dan?
Ducks fly together. I don't
The egg
know.
must hatch.
Yeah, stuff like that. The show must go on, as they say.
So we're gonna roll right into it. I think we had a pretty good outing last time. It was just me and you.
Yes.
We had some compliments here and there. We did numbies, I guess you could say, emotional numbies. So a lot of support from that. Not saying that we're better without the other two, or better without the others, but we give it our best. We give it our best.
Yeah, and I think when it comes down to just numbies and stuff like that, it's great to just see any kind of numbies. And I think it's easier to have a discussion with just two people. Naturally, it's not over, I wouldn't say saturated, but you could get your point across and your point out sooner. I know when it's a full staffed here, I kind of lose my train of thought sometimes. So it's easier to just maybe, hey, I'm going to cut you off real quick. But I'm not saying that I would do this all the time without the other two. I think your brother is a staple. Double R, I know, things happen. Hopefully get him back soon. Because I haven't talked to him in a while, so we'll see. But I miss you too, brother. I'll tell you. But no, we're gonna do our thing like we did a few weeks ago. So
yeah, I know what you're saying. It's easy to bounce like one off the other. So there are times you and Andrew, going back and forth, and I'm zoning out a bit. Like I'm not the pong paddle at the time. The little ball's coming across, hitting yours, hitting Andrew's, or someone else is zoning out. But I think we got a little bit to talk about today. We might not have the best stuff to talk about, but we got some stuff to go through. I know Dan wants a little preview. Dan wants to talk some golf. I'm not as well versed in that. I've played golf this weekend, but I haven't been watching that much. Just not enough time to watch the golf. I flipped it on here and there. I barely had time to watch the Buccos this weekend, but we'll talk Buccos, some golf, tad bit of hockey, a little bit of college basketball. I think you might know where we're going with this if you're a listener of the pod. If you're in the Pittsburgh area, you might know where we're going from this.
Let's get that off the table right now, because I want to just piggyback into that. This is the episode I wish your brother was here, because he would have something outlandish to say about this. If you haven't heard, or live under a rock, or maybe you don't care, Bob Huggins was arrested over the weekend in Pittsburgh for a DUI. Had empty beer cans in his vehicle, his SUV.
In a bag.
Here's the thing. He thought he was in Columbus, Ohio?
Thought he was in Ohio.
Buddy.
Yeah.
All right. You're from a shithole, WVU. And I'm going to take a jab at you. You're from a shithole, WVU. Don't compare Pittsburgh to Columbus. This is Pittsburgh to Columbus. That's a slap in our face, and I don't like that. I'll tell you right now. So Huggy Bear, as they call him, did he end up resigning? They said that was
yeah, he would have been fired, but they probably said you've been here a while, respect kind of thing. You're getting fired unless you want to resign. So my take on it is jag move for thinking same thing. You think you're in Columbus, but you're in Pittsburgh. Second thing, this guy, I know he's had problems in the past with various things, but he's always saying my players are the most disciplined. That's the first thing we do. We have treadmills on the sidelines in practice. If your head's not in the game, you're gonna be running this, that, 10 miles per hour for 2 hours. Buddy can't even discipline himself.
No.
Buddy's driving around at a Washington McDonald's with a blown out tire in the middle of the road. You can't be having that.
So
at 69 years old, nonetheless.
Exactly. And here's the thing. I understand what he did for that basketball program. Because if you talk to a lot of people that ever went to WVU, the football wasn't there, but the basketball always was. It was almost like the basketball program was almost bigger than the football program, which is hard to do at any school unless you're at Duke or North Carolina. But those football programs are on the up and up. And like I've said many a times in many podcasts before, previous ones, that it doesn't matter. Your football team still makes all the money for the school. But for that basketball team, it's like a blue blood. It's a staple at that university. But here's my thing. You blow a .21, so you're well over the legal limit. You think you're
almost
in Columbus.
Double. or over double, almost 3 times.
Yeah. So I understand you want to have some pops and stuff. That's fine, but do it responsibly. You're showing that you're not responsible. You're getting behind the wheel. You think you're in Columbus, Ohio. You're in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. 2 different states, 2 different cities. How do you know you didn't hit somebody? How do you're lucky you didn't hit somebody, kill somebody, maim somebody. That's the bigger issue here. And a lot of people see it, and myself included, Pitt versus WVU, all trash, this and that, you trash talk, backyard brawl. But when you boil it down and you take it for what it is, doesn't matter if he was a Division I basketball coach. He was behind the wheel, well over the legal limit, intoxicated, driving that motor vehicle. He could have killed anybody. He could have killed himself. Very careless, very reckless. And I don't stand for that. I really don't. I think it's disgusting. It's a slap in the face. And you look back a couple months ago, he had some homophobic slurs on a radio show. Somebody asked him.
Not Kentucky radio, but right. West Virginia, something like it. He's saying stuff about Xavier.
So they kind of brushed that under the rug for who he was. But you kind of get too big for your britches. A lot of people were saying this might have been his last year anyway, but it doesn't matter because you buried yourself. Now your legacy as a great Division I basketball coach is now going to be tarnished forever because everybody's going to remember you as the bigot that wanted to get behind the wheel drunk. And you can't say I'm wrong.
All in 1 year. All in 1 year.
All within 3 months. 3 months.
Yeah. And the thing is, I think the fact that he was like a public figure, like it's different. College coaches are different than professional coaches. Like college coaches are that stepping stone that grow, boys into men, make them the productive members of society, teach them this, that, and the other. So, basketball, probably close to, I bet 70, probably higher %, they're not going to the NBA.
Oh, yeah.
So these are guys that are just like working, going out into life, and like, you can't have guys like that teaching him anymore. Like he grew out of his thing. But side note, cool throne, like taking a nudge off the hot seat, Jim Boeheim, I guess.
Yeah.
So So let's talk about him. He won't be the first one to be remembered in vehicular instances anymore, I guess.
Yeah, and like I said, when I think of West Virginia basketball, I think of Bob Huggins, but I won't anymore. And I think he'll realize that he messed up. He could have just went away quietly, kind of like a Coach K almost, or was it because it's not Roy Williams?
Quietly,
he kind of did. You don't hear much of him, and I think
he did all year, kind of. But tools of the trade when you're that high profile.
Exactly. But yeah, I think that's just a disgusting look, and I honestly didn't think that the university was going to come down on him, and I'm glad they did because
there's no way they wouldn't have. That would have been bad if they didn't.
But
after what he already did at the beginning of the year, not doing anything after that, like people were pretty mad. They should have done something after the first one. Like this was like he was a cat with 9 lives. He used all 8 after that. What happened earlier in the year? He had 1 left, and he was toast.
And I think he thought he almost thought he was bigger than the university, but. A lot of people, like you said, were upset, but they didn't do anything. They weren't even going to suspend him, I don't think. So in the day and age that we live in now, and you hear it all the time with the cancel culture and this and that, and look at, and I'm not getting political at all, but look what's going on in the world that we live in. I'm very surprised they didn't do anything then. You're drinking and driving. Now, what if the roles were reversed? What if he was caught drinking and driving earlier in the year and then said some homophobic slurs? No, do you still think they would have shit canned him or told him to resign?
I don't know. The order really does, I think, mix it up a bit.
Yeah.
I don't know what they'd do. I don't know what goes on at West Virginia. I don't know, like, the staff or the board of whatever. So who knows what they would have done. Things are a lot different at schools like that. Like, say your West Virginias, your Mississippi States, because that's their like professional sports teams. People in West Virginia, that's why they have such high ticket sales for the area. Football, that's their only football team. If you want to go see a pro football game, you got to go to probably Cincinnati,
Pittsburgh, Baltimore,
somewhere like that. So that's the closest thing they have to something professional. So like you'll go to places like Kentucky and they live and die for that sport. Like Coach Cal is like basically a heavenly figure, I guess, down there.
He's
I
a
don't know.
saint,
Like
yeah.
they worship him for whatever reason. So it's a little different. I guess I can't grasp that because from where we're from, I'm like, why they put coaches like that on such a high pedestal? But it's kind of a goofy move. But you know, be better, I guess. That's just the bottom line.
Yeah.
Uh, just yeah, bad situation, and you know, bad decisions. By the time you're 26, your frontal cortex should be developed in your brain. So he's like maybe 3 times past due at this point. He's almost 70 years old.
Yeah.
So I don't think he's gonna get any wittier anytime soon. But yeah, those are my final thoughts.
No, that's fine. I think we move on from that.
Yeah,
I
just
said my
complete
piece.
tarnished everything. Like everyone used to think he was like a cool guy, like
Yeah.
some kind of like, you know, badass coaching figure. But in 1 year, he ruined like how many years of work? Probably like 30, 40.
Yes.
You
And,
know?
and you never saw him in like a suit and tie on the side, like a lot of the coaches. He was always in that track suit and stuff and did it a different way. But I think he just went and tarnished everything. So
In 1 year, he ruined his
Yes.
whole like legacy, reputation, anything he built, anything West Virginia stood for. Like they're back on square one. They're
Yeah.
going to be, you know, a joke. You know, they're going to be a laughing stock a lot like some other teams that bad things have happened to. You know, like I'm not going to throw it out there, but you know,
Yep.
Penn State
Yep.
stuff like that. But
because
that's what
they
happens.
landed some big time grad transfers and stuff like that. And there's rumblings that there's quite a few players that want to transfer out now.
I saw on Twitter like eight kids
Yeah.
already are like, yeah, like
So
we're out of here.
You don't hurt just yourself. You hurt that entire program, the university. When you are a public figure for that university, you have to walk on eggshells. You really do. You chose that life. You chose to be in the limelight. You chose to be that kind of figure at a university. You have to almost be a saint. Like I understand guys want to go out and have some pops. I have nothing against that. But there's things in place, and I'll tie this into professional athletes. You can get a ride from anybody. There's things in place for your university or your team. Hey, you need an Uber?
And for people like that, it's way easier. You know?
Exactly. It's free too. Like your university or your team provides that. It's there for a reason. So you don't have to get behind the wheel drunk. So you don't end up, Henry Ruggs and somebody, which is terrible. Those are all avoidable. And when you come down to just being a human being, I don't care if you are a coach at a Division I school or you're just a guy doing a 9 to 5 or whatever. You get behind the wheel drunk, it's on you. You made your bed, now lay in it. And that's where I'm going to leave it at.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we're beating a dead horse at this point, but we got what we could out of it.
Yeah.
Not much talk about college basketball much, so we had to, dig in a little bit.
And especially when it's West Virginia.
Trash, West Virginia. So yeah, we can, like the shake hands thing.
Yeah.
Like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That.
Yeah.
What do you want to get into next? What are we feeling? Get a little Bucko.
That's fine.
Go a little Penguins.
Let's touch Penguins real quick because it's quick.
Yeah, it's quick.
Mm-hmm.
So, correct me if I'm wrong in the terminology, but Jason Spezza, assistant GM, right?
Correct.
Is that the terminology they use?
Yep, assistant GM. So they still do not have a GM. He's assistant.
Do you think they're going to leave it at that?
Yes,
Or
because
are they have like a GM, or does he just be like?
No. So what they're doing now is Spezza and Dubas are working together, and they're going to interview for the GM position, which is we're getting into crunch time because the draft is coming up. So it might be them two working together, and then they get a GM to not plug in, but they hire a GM to help with finalize the roster and pick up pieces that complement that team. And I still think that they should go after the assistant GM who's in Carolina right now and just promote him to our general manager. I'm sure those calls have been made and stuff, but they have to fill in for a general manager. Correct.
I feel like that's like a sneaky good move by the Penguins because Dubas is technically the GM, right?
Yeah. He's just
With that void of a GM, they could hire somebody and be like, "Hey, I just want the title," But technically, they're the assistant GM because
technically, because when you get into like terminology, it's kind of like what the Steelers are doing with Omar Khan and Andy Weidel, right? You have a GM and then you have a player personnel guy. And Omar Khan does all the money. He's a wizard at that. But Andy Weidel is the guy who is evaluating this talent and stuff like that. So I would agree. I think it's the right move, and it's good to see.
It's hard to find someone that's good at both of those.
Yeah, very tough. That's why, Ray Shero was good at what he did. Even Jimmy Rutherford was very good at what he did. And then look at other sports. It's when you have like a Kevin Colbert, phenomenal at both sides. But then you do have guys in your ear. You have assistants and guys down the ladder, your scouts and stuff like that. It does help out a lot. It's all an organization thing. It's not just one guy. It's 15 guys in a room talking and hashing it out and figuring out what's best for the organization.
Yeah, I think hockey needs to step up in terms of making the sport more digestible for, the common person. I just feel like they're not in touch with, they could get way more in touch with a bigger crowd, but they really don't put themselves out there like they should. Numbers of Stanley Cup viewers was way down way more down than usual. I don't know, what can you do about that? It's I think a problem is it's an expensive sport to get into. When you're growing up, it's very limited to get into. It's just a difficult sport for the common man to pick up. But watching playoff hockey, it's the most competitive sport. I in my opinion, it's the most competitive playoff, scenario around. Guys are out there with broken sternums, caved in chests.
Yep.
They're putting their lives on the,
yes.
They're on their last leg.
All to hoist this trophy that weighs 35 pounds that you can't keep, you get for one day. I know your name goes on there and it'll be, you'll be a Stanley Cup champion forever, but it just shows, I think hockey players are the most talented and most, physical specimens on this face of the earth, because they're playing 82 games. They're playing back-to-backs, going through injuries. It's 60 minutes of constant. I understand guys get 20 minutes of ice time, and that's a lot, right? But look,
they're on 3 minutes at a time at most, and they're gassed.
But look at the average NFL play. It's not even 6 seconds.
10 minutes. It's 10 minutes of action.
Time, right? And then they get a week off, and then they want to complain that they got to play a Thursday. Oh, I got a short week. These guys are busting their ass, back-to-backs, practice in the morning, then you're playing at night. They're just freaks. But yeah, I think you're right. It's a very expensive sport to get into. It's kind of regional as well, because even the Pittsburgh area right now, it's hot. It's 80 degrees. A lot of rinks don't have ice year-round. It's very expensive to maintain. So if your local rink does have it, then take advantage of it. But it's not a sport for everybody. It's not a hard sport to understand. But there's a lot of people that just don't grasp it. There's a lot that goes on. It's a fast sport, and it's not just, hey, let's run this ball to there or put this ball in this hoop or something or run the bases. This guy throws you a ball. It's a difficult sport to grasp, but it is one of my favorite sports to watch. And like you said, I think playoff hockey is bar none the best sports competitiveness you'll get.
Just the passion, yes. You can tell the players have passion. There's the ultimate respect for any trophy. It is the Stanley. That's the first trophy I think of. I don't think of the Larry O'Brien. I mean, the Lombardi's up there, but the Stanley Cup is just iconic. You can't drink out of the Lombardi.
No,
you can't drink out of the World. What do they call the World Series trophy?
I have no idea.
Exactly.
But when you, like you said, you think of a trophy, you think of the Stanley Cup. It's the most recognizable trophy in the world. Even if you ask Europeaners, they'll know what it is. You ask people, all over the world, they know what the Stanley Cup is. And there's only one group of men that get to raise it every year. And like I said, you're putting your body on the line. That guy from Florida had torn oblique, broken foot, and broken something else. I know Tkachuk had a fractured sternum and torn shoulder. These guys, and you don't hear about it because they don't. Hockey's one of them sports that doesn't disclose injuries.
Yeah.
So, and you hear about, this guy's blowed out his knee. This guy's got a broken leg. He's playing on a broken leg. It's for real.
So like the funny thing about that is whenever they say like lower body injury, it could mean anything from like a broken toe or like your leg's just gone. You know, like
Yeah.
hey, his leg fell off like out there. Go pick it up. You know,
Yeah.
like those. Yeah, it's just lower body.
Yeah, and
But
you'll never know.
the last point of like the iconic trophy thing is, I know like in your head you can picture the guy that carries around the cup, the keeper of the cup. Like you can't picture anyone else, like the keeper of the Lombardi or the Larry O'Brien or the whatever. Like you know that dude with the white blonde hair and the gloves and tuxedo.
He's got that smile, you know, that like chubbier face, the cheeks, and oh yeah.
They hired a man just to keep the cup. That's how like 365. He's just all around with it.
Yep. So like when you get your day with the cup, he brings it to, you know, whatever event. Like you want it at your house for the day, you want it out on the lake for the day. He's there with it. He brings it to you.
You think he's seen anything like crazy with it?
He said he's seen some wild shit with it. He has. They sunk it in Mario's pool and he won it in like the 90s.
Oh yeah. I heard that.
So yeah,
there's hot dogs in there.
Yep,
he's gonna get to do it again. Yeah, they're on. Yeah, he just won it
3 times. But yeah,
it stinks. Vegas though, they didn't deserve it. Well, they deserved it, but the city didn't deserve it. The fan base didn't deserve it.
See, and I understand that, and I kind of agree with you, but I think that's why the viewership was so down. You didn't have one of the original 6s or like a Penguins in there, teams that have been at the top for so long. You had an organization that was there for 6 years,
and then a Florida team where at the same time their basketball team was in the NBA finals. So in my opinion, Floridians, is that what you call them? Floridians, they're going to be watching the NBA finals over the Stanley Cup playoffs, but they went 0-2 in them. So, what are you going to do?
They're the first Metro to make it both as 8 seeds to their finals championships, but then they're the first Metro to lose 2 championships in the same year too.
Oh geez. Yeah. It feels like the Penguins haven't played hockey in like forever. You ever feel that way?
Yeah.
It's been like 2 months.
A little longer than that, but still. I mean, so we'll segue right into that. When I said Brian Reynolds didn't have a home run since the Penguins were still playing, that was just 2 weeks ago when I said that. You know what I mean? So
he won against the Mariners. So like that, they were playing. That
was a couple weeks ago when I said that. So segue into the suckos here. We off the train. We on the train. What are you feeling?
What do you mean? Like, am I supporting them still? Am I watching?
Well, you know how we were saying they were back, then they're not. They're back, they're not.
I've learned something.
Okay.
They're an team.
Okay.
Just final statement, they're an team. After going back and forth a couple like weeks here and there, like you reach a certain point where it's like, hey, if you're going back and forth this much, they're just like a run of the mill team. They're nothing special about them. They're gonna have their licks. They're gonna lose games, but they're gonna win games too. They're not gonna contend. Like I think contention's done after what you saw this weekend.
Okay.
You blew 3 to the Cubs. You blew 3 to the Brewers, including today, which were very winnable games. You got 5-0'd on a Saturday. Just a bad look. And management is it's very evident that they don't want to win. They don't want to take advantage of the opportunity they had. And today we finally saw that Henry Davis has been called up. He has a spot in the locker room for, I think, tomorrow's series. Starts against the Cubs.
Yep.
At home, he has a locker room in PNC, so we'll see him. But it's kind of like it would have meant a lot more, like a couple weeks ago. It would have meant a lot more before they've lost 6 games in a row now, maybe 7. I don't know, 6 games.
I think it would have meant even more in May when you started a slide and you call them up and you show that you want to win. Like you said, it just all comes down to management, cheap. I hate to say that, but it is because Super 2 just ended, correct? I think that was, or is it going to end? Super 2. So it just shows that they didn't want to take advantage, and if they wanted to,
they would have.
Yeah, and it's tough. Like I found myself getting upset today watching that game, and they have a 2-0 or 2-1 lead into the 8th, and they have no arms coming out of the pen that you can trust.
Everyone's on the IL, any trustable one, and the trustable ones that were out there didn't produce.
And it's so frustrating. Still not hitting with runners in scoring position, guys on base. It's just, I think it's too little, too late to call up anybody and to show that you are serious about this season. But it does show that this divisional race isn't out of reach, though, because you could still go, you could go on a tear. And the Brewers, they just came off a 6-game losing streak, but the Reds have a resurgence now, and they're hot right now. So
that's because they brought their prospects up,
right.
And their prospects are playing well. So, the Pirates should have taken note of that. And I think this is the final spark. Like Henry Davis, if that doesn't rejuvenate the team, they're not going to. I don't think they're going to bring up Endy.
No.
Like he's not going to come up. Priester, I don't know if they're going to bring him up at this point. I don't think he's ready yet.
He's only 22, and you said he got shelled today, which is tough.
Today, and his ERA went up.
I mean, it's going to happen. You're going to have those days. You're going to have days where Mitch Keller is going to have it. Excuse me. We've seen it, but you would hope that
I don't think we've talked about this. Roansy is just mentally checked out.
You got to send him down. You have to.
Where? Send him down?
Send him down.
Yeah. Hopefully have him ready by next year. I guess get his confidence back up. But if he send him down and he keeps playing horribly, that's a pretty bad sign, because as a pitcher, the biggest tool you have other than your arm is up here.
Yeah.
Your mental. So I don't know. I'm gonna keep enjoying baseball, because there's gonna be some good games. There's gonna be some good moments. There's guys in the lineup that can produce some big plays. Like today was the first game I really wasn't frustrated with.
Okay.
Like I wasn't mad they lost. And I was like, G1 Bay, pretty cool catch there, even though it was the, I think, was that the tying RBI, the go-ahead RBI, I think.
Yeah.
But, it's just moments like that you're going to have to hold on to, because we don't have Steeler football for another 2 months, unless you're a training camp, madman, where you just, I'm really not.
That's end of July. We got a whole month and a week for that. 6 weeks, 5 weeks.
You're a Pittsburgh sports fan, you don't have, or if you're just a sports fan in general in the area, this is like the time where Stanley Cups ended and, NBA finals have ended. So days that you're like, the Pirates aren't playing well, I need something like just good to watch. Like you have nothing to turn to except other baseball teams, or I don't know, what else would there even be? Just go outside, I guess. It's summer, go outside.
Yeah, because you got to think. I don't know if you're into like the college scene, but the college softball just ended. College World Series is going on right now, so that's going to be done. I don't know. It's what did we do for all them years that they were in the tank anyway? You just keep doing that.
Exactly.
You turn them on, you listen to them, you watch them. It's kind of like background noise. I hate to admit it, because I don't want to keep flip flopping. I'm not flip flopping. I'm still enjoying that. They had a hell of a start. They did.
Oh,
I wish they would have capitalized on it.
I don't want to downplay. Like they are playing above what we thought they would, and I just think we saw that, and we expect more now that we've seen what they can do. But say like at the beginning of the season, if we said this now, we would have been happy. Like with the position they're in, having a puncher's chance still at only being a couple games back, would be like, damn, we're only like 3 games back. Yeah, I'll take that in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to downplay what the team has done, but it's just to this point in the season going forward, after what we've seen, we know they could be better.
Yeah. And I think it's kind of instilled in us and burned into our DNA as Pittsburgh fans. Look at the Steelers, look at the Penguins. You get a hot start, or you start exceeding expectations, even internally, they would add. They would make a push. And you don't get that from the Buccos, and you just wish that they would follow suit and want to be winners. And hey, internally they're exceeding our expectations. Well, that's great. Add to that. Keep that contending team a contender. And I think that's where it starts to sour people. And I get it. And I understand it because it is frustrating because you think of Pittsburgh Pirates. If you ask me, I think of 21 years of losing. For 21 years of my life, they had 3 really good years. This almost looked like they could have caught lightning in a bottle, been a year ahead of schedule, and just rolled with it. If you're a year ahead of schedule, that's an extra year of development for guys, for winning. Yes, for winning, getting those guys a lot of experience in the playoffs or a run to the playoffs. Even if you fall short late, they know what it takes then next year. And I think that would have went a long way for a lot of these young guys, like your kid Brian Hayes, your Brian Reynolds, your O'Neill Cruzes, that haven't been around. And you got a guy like McCutcheon who was here the first time it happened, and he could be like, hey, this is what we got to do. We got to lock in here, and show them the way. And now, and give them younger guys like a visual of it, not just, basically put it on paper. If you understand what I mean. Saying. Yeah.
But like also not, I feel it could be a little detrimental to do what they're doing, instill that mentality that like, hey, we're buying out of this year. Like we're not all in on this year,
Right.
Because like you want to be given 100%. You don't want to develop those, I guess, bad habits of playing lackadaisically and like basically accepting being a loser. Because that turns into like bad habits where next year we get into games like that we are behind and just throw the towel in. Like, no, you're going to be down some games. You're like, look at the Brewers today. They were down 2-0. Those are the kind of games that the Pirates would roll over. And, you saw it yesterday. They end up losing 5-0.
Yeah.
They're in the same situation that the Brewers are in today, but the Brewers, they battled, they came back. And, I think that's just something that the young guys need to learn and just, buy in, like win every game you can. Like Oakland, say it or not, at least they're fighting a little bit.
Yeah.
They still got a little fight in them.
Yeah. And I think you made a point about Bob Huggins teaching these young men, right? What does this management teach these young guys? Like, oh, it's okay to lose. When a lot of these professional athletes coming up through high school and college, they didn't lose a lot. That's why they're in the pros. And then they come to the Pittsburgh Pirates and they're losing. And then they see that it's okay just because internally we're exceeding expectations. You gotta put the best product on the field for those guys too. Or like you said, you're gonna develop bad habits and you're gonna get into bad games and you're just, okay, it's over. No, you gotta fight. You gotta claw. Because I know it's a 162 game season, but you missed the playoffs by 1 and you just rolled over and died because you're down 3 runs in the 5th inning. It goes a long way. I totally agree with you.
And it shows in sports that like one game could be the difference between, hey, you're eliminated or you're fighting for like the NBA Finals trophy. You're fighting for the Stanley Cup.
Look at the Pens.
The Heat were one game away from just being, hey, we're not in the playoffs at all. They played the play-in game.
Yep.
They played a couple tough series.
Yep.
And they were fighting. They're fighting for the championship. Every game matters. That's just something you got to instill in their heads.
Look at the Pittsburgh Penguins. They lost both of their final 2 games to the worst 2 teams in the league. If they win those games, Florida's not in it. Florida's not playing for the Stanley Cup. They're not even in the conversation because they're sitting at home. But no.
And who says that they don't beat the Bruins in the first round? Who says they don't continue on,
In NHL, especially, you get in, you can win. I mean, the Kings did it as an 8 seed a few years ago. There's been plenty of 8 seeds that have won it. Hell, the Florida Panthers went the whole way. I understand they play a different brand of hockey and they were bullying teams, but you make it in, you got to punch your chance, as Ryan says. You got to punch your chance. So,
yeah, and to note off that a little bit, this is something I saw in Henry Davis, which is a good sign. When he was in the minors, I forget if this is when he was in Altoona or Indy. I don't know, no idea, or where he was at. He had a broken wrist, and he was playing on it for like I don't know, a couple weeks, couple days, month. I don't know the time frame, but his coaches like came up to him and were like, hey, like, we think you have a broken wrist. Like, do you know that? He's like, yeah, I've known that for like weeks. I just want to like do this just in case I get hurt when I'm in the majors and my team needs me so I can learn how to produce while I'm injured. So, he's the kind of guy that wants to win. I think that's a pretty good sign that he's not going to be the kind of guy that comes up and, takes, takes crap and basically rallies the troops together. I think he's going to be a good leader someday. He's going to be, the kind of guy you want in the clubhouse. So that's kind of reassuring to hear that, or at least see it, and hopefully it's not fake on Twitter kind of thing.
I mean, if it's not fake in this day of age where guys have hangnails and are out 2 to 4 weeks, that's great. I understand you don't want to hurt yourself more. You don't want it to become real severe. But if you could play on it, why not? It doesn't matter if it's the regular season. They do it in the playoffs. But if you're going to be the best option for your team and you feel like you can produce, why not? Instead of being like, oh, put me on the shelf. That's the kind of attitude you need to have to succeed. And I'm not saying maybe have a long career, because you start playing on injuries and stuff, it could cut your career short, but it just shows the willingness in the fire, in the fight, to want to be in the lineup because you think that you can help your team win. And that's great. If it is true, that's great.
Yeah, guys, and I can see what you're saying, but guys like that, they do carve out longer careers because they want players like that in their clubhouse. I'm not saying Josh Harrison was that guy, but look what he's done. He wasn't he was a good player in the Pirates. He wasn't the best player, but if he told me he's still playing in 2023, he's in the Phillies lineup here and there.
Yeah.
So he carved out himself a nice career just being, the clubhouse guy. So you can just being a good clubhouse guy gets you going places. So good for him.
And the willingness to just want to play. You're absolutely right there. Correct.
Yeah, I'll take a guy any day of the week that loves the game and respects the game and is a real leader over some guy that's just extremely talented but doesn't give a damn and just wants money.
And when I think of that, I think of look at the Padres, right? You got Tatis, Soto, Machado. All those guys have egos, and I feel like they don't love the game. They're just there to make a paycheck. And I get it. Make your money, but you're not giving your team your 100% or the best opportunity to win because you have an ego. And I think you're absolutely right there. And when you use Jay as an example, I think that's phenomenal. Yeah. I think you hit the nail on the head there. Good job, Ryan.
Hey, thank you. Appreciate it. Is that the same thing with the Mets? Do you think they have big egos? Look how much those guys are getting paid. I know Scherzer, he's like a little bit of a nutcase. I don't know if he has an ego. I've heard stories about him. He's just like one of those whack job pitcher kind of guys that get really into it, and voodoo kind of pitcher,
Yeah. So with pitchers,
Frankie Lindor, guys like that are making hundreds of millions.
Pitchers are a different breed. They really are. If you ask anybody who's been on a major league team with pitchers, they have weird rituals. They have, ways they do things on days that they're starting or coming out the pen. They have ways to warm up there. It's just they're an off breed. They're almost like a goaltender in hockey. Hockey goaltenders are off breed. I don't know if it's an ego thing with the Mets or they just overpay for mediocre talent. And if you don't have Scherzer out there on the bump and then you don't have Verlander as well, who do you have in your lineup that's any good? Really?
Frankie Lindor, but he's hitting 210 right now. He's basically Austin Hedges.
Right.
But expensive.
Right. So
Austin Hedges soup.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't think it's an ego thing there. I just think that they overpay for mediocre talent. They're kind of trying to be like their big brother, the New York Yankees, and buying championships, and they can't do it either anymore because they overpay for mediocre talent.
That's me mad. People they put the Yankees on this big pedestal. Well, what have they done other than in the 20s they have 20 championships? What have they done? Was it 09, 11, or was it 2011, 09? I don't know. They've won one title, I think, in my lifetime.
Championship? New York Yankees. I think it's 09.
And I'll dig another franchise after this, too.
Go ahead.
It's basketball. So the Celtics, what have they done?
Right. It's the big markets. It's the teams that spend, and they act like just because the Yankees have won 27 championships, but they won the majority of them back in the 20s and 30s when there were 4 teams in the freaking league. It's just like Toronto in the NHL.
Same thing. Cowboys.
Yeah. the Cowboys are America's team because the Steelers didn't want that title because they're the world's team. Yeah, get out of here, you cowgirls. But
no, I saw that. Wasn't Rooney?
Yes.
They offered Rooney that.
Yes.
He's like, no, Steelers aren't like America's team. They're Pittsburgh's team.
Yeah, but it's just a persona with the cowgirls. But you can't respect a team that tries to buy championships and act like they're everybody's big brother, and then they get bullied in the playoffs, or they don't even make the playoffs. They don't even have a chance. 09's your last championship. Come on now, bud.
Yeah. That's like 14 years ago. And like before that, what was it? Did they have one in their late 90s or the early 2000s?
They had that run there with Jeter. I think they won like 3. Hold up. Let me look here for you. Championships. 2000. Well, okay. Then 96, 98, 99, 2000, and then 2009. But before that, it was 78.
Yeah. So like congrats on I guess the 90s, but I don't really count that. Like you don't see people clamoring over the Bulls anymore. Like like people have respect for the Bulls.
Yeah.
The Bulls are not on the Yankees level.
No.
Like the Bulls know what they are.
Yeah, you're right.
Like it's not like they're throwing it in people's faces like anything like that. So yeah, Yankees just I don't like them. Don't like the Yankees.
No. Yeah, it just comes down to, for me, they always tried to buy championships, and it just never worked out for them.
The only time I like it is if like a small market or medium market team like does that, gets like a player and they buy him for a year or two. Like, that's cool.
Rent a player. There's nothing wrong with renting a player. I'm okay with it because everybody does it. But when you're the Yankees and you're shelling out, $500 million to your center fielder and then another $100 million to your first baseman, and your rotation's taking another $500 million a year. Yeah, it's just there should
for the Dodgers, them too.
The Dodgers too. I don't think there should be a salary cap, but there should be a salary floor. So let's say 90 million. So then I think you got Kansas City, you got Baltimore, you got the Pirates, you got Oakland. Those teams would have to spend then, and maybe they'd be a little more competitive.
Honestly.
Just a thought. I've always said that.
I agree with that.
I always said that. Not a cap. Don't put a cap on it, but a floor. You got to spend it this much.
Yeah, agreed. Where are we at? What are we looking like?
45 minutes in.
45? Yep. What else do you got? I think that's some good Bucko baseball talk.
Yeah, that's good Buckos.
You want to talk some golf? I know you want to.
I do. I got a little, I guess, tangent to go on here. I don't know if you'll agree with it, or I might ruffle some feathers, but I don't care. So I'm watching the US Open right now. It's from they're over in California playing at like LA Country Club or whatever.
Yeah, Los Angeles Country Club.
And I'm watching, and I see this guy wearing this shirt and this hat, professional golfer. And then I see another guy. I'm like, I don't know that logo. Guys from the Live Tour, I understand it. You took your money. That's fine. Like I've said plenty of times, make your bread. I have nothing against that. But Patrick Reed and Sergio Garcia need to get with the times here. I don't want to see your Aces hat. I don't want to see your Aces shirt, Patrick Reed, when you're 8 over. Sergio, I don't know what team you're on. I don't want to see that. I want to see Titleist. I want to see Ping. I want to see Cobra. I want to see TaylorMade, Callaway. I don't want to see your team because it's on a team sport here. You're at the US Open. You're playing for yourself. You and your caddy are playing for yourself. It's the most prestigious award in golf from the United States. Okay. Other people say, there's plenty of majors, but this is the big one from the US. It's the US Open. I don't want to see that. I think it's bad taste. And Patrick Reed, it just has that smugness about him. And I always liked Sergio, but after seeing that, I don't even know what the logo was on his hat. And he had a black hat and it was a yellow logo of something. And then he had a yellow shirt with the logo here. I don't want to see it. I'm sorry. I don't know if I'm just soured with the whole live and the PGA thing. I just didn't like it. I didn't like it at all. And it pissed me off.
Here's what I'm gonna say. I agree with your thing about like, the majors, like keep it solo, keep the majors, like keep your aces, like Jersey out of here, whatever. But I don't know. I kind of like the idea of like some kind of team play for golf when it's not like major season,
Okay.
Like I want to see some trades. I want to see team drama. Golf is like, you don't get to see much of the personalities in golf as much as like I'd want to. And I think like having something like that where you can get behind like a team or like, like this guy's fighting with this guy and they have to play golf together today. Or, I think that would get us more interested in watching these other tournaments or, not other tournaments, but, other times of the year instead of just watching the US Open or anything like that. So, or, I don't know. I think I just like the aspect of having some kind of team thing. I don't know if Liv did it right, or I hope they bring something like that in. That's the only thing they could really contribute in my eyes. I'm not behind Liv at all, but whatever. Not going to get into that. But I just think I do like the idea of maybe having some teams in golf. It'd get the smaller guys in on it too. Like you have your big guys like JT, Scheffler, all these guys. But what about the little guys? Let's get them up with some. Maybe have a draft every year and like reset teams and have something fun going on. Have signings, have cuts. I think that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, and I think to just bolster your point, when the Bryson DeChambeau and Brooks Koepka drama was going on, and then they were both joining the Ryder Cup team together, and are they going to pair them together? Everybody was tuning in to see if Brooks was going to punch out Bryson. It was exciting for golf, and it's hard to say. But I heard that they are going to bring some sort of team aspect in. I will say this: good on Rory for basically being the scapegoat for what's his name, Munhouse or whatever. In talking to the people, and it's the PGA was supposed to be a player. What the hell did they call it? Player run league or whatever. And that guy just went and made a decision by himself, basically. And I understand why. And when you look at the numbers, the PGA had like $156 million for, backed money to take the Saudis to court. And the Saudis had 600 billion. You're going to fold. It's going to happen. I'm not going to get political. I'm not going to get who's right, who's wrong. But things happen. I'm glad that we get to see a lot of the big guys at all the majors this year. And we'll see it going forward, what the team aspect has to do with it. And if I could get, 3 rounds with Patrick Reed, I'd body that dude, because his just face makes me want to put one of these right to suckle.
And hey, maybe that's where they capitalize. How we're saying earlier, after hockey season, after basketball, and then you got just baseball. If your team's not contending, hey, maybe there should be some team golf. Maybe you can get behind the aces. Maybe you'll have the Pittsburgh, I don't know, something going on.
Maybe. So, yeah.
I think it'll make things more meaningful for, like you say, Rory's killing it, but his fourth teammate Joe Schmo needs to make this putt, and he's shooting like 13 over. But hey, Joe Schmo over there, he drills his putt, like his team's winning. It might make it a little exciting. Teams. I think one of the bigger things that this is going to bring in is like gambling revenue. Like we see that in all sports now. Like there's going to be so much more advertising by like FanDuel, like BetMGM, everything like that. That's what they're looking for. That's the next big avenue. You have like futures on these teams. Like who's going to outplay who in this group, or like on this team, who's going to finish first, who's going to par this hole, are they going to win this hole, anything like that. But I think there's a lot of cool things they can do, like what team has the longest drive. We might see some like outing rules out there, like farthest, like closest to the pin, farthest putt, something like that.
Yeah.
But also congratulations to Andrew, because he did have closest to the pin on a hole at the outing, I think, the other day.
Oh, nice.
So I was 10 yards off the farthest drive on one hole at the time. I don't know if it would have stuck, but I was like, dang, got a little more roll. I was right there.
Yeah, nice. Good.
But that's golf talk. I think it's exciting. I'm trying to get more into it. I've been watching, some of it. I was really in on the Masters. I watched like Thursday US Open, then a little bit Friday. I'm gonna watch a little tonight. I like how it's on later. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
You know, you guys teeing off at like 9 p.m. You know,
Well, they're 3 hours behind us, so yeah.
yeah. So that's cool. But yeah, what's the next major? What's after the Open?
Ooh, is it the European Open maybe? Because we had the Masters, we had the Players, U.S. Open. I think it might be next golf major.
Is the Masters like screwed up? Is it supposed to be like that time of year?
April,
is it
yeah.
still...
Yeah, because when we had the
years ago
COVID, so they had to play it in the fall.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I'm not seeing it. Let me look at the schedule here. I don't want to scroll through all this shit.
Maybe this is going to fill that void. You'll have some team play coming up here.
Hopefully,
soon.
that'd be cool.
I'm just interested to see what it's going. Golf has kind of taken a backside to, like, I guess, our generation. You know, I don't know if you can kind of relate with me on that, but who around us talks like golf other than like people who talk on sports? Like, who talks golf? Like, who's saying like, "Hey, I'm watching the Open," or you know, like it's few and far between like that people like say I'm watching golf on TV or I'm interested in this, and this, or like even know who Bryson DeChambeau is. Like, everyone knows who probably Rory and like Tiger are.
Oh yeah,
but most people can't name someone after Tiger Woods or like maybe Rory McIlroy.
Well, and that's the thing. They were the face of the PGA for years because they were both ranked world number one. I mean, Tiger Woods was world number one for years. Rory was up there. So those big guys, but then you start getting these young guys that have a push into winning majors and stuff. I bet you hey, point out who John Rahm is to me. Nobody will know. But it shows the British Open is the 20th of July.
So I'm looking, it says Travelers Championship, Rocket Mortgage, The Match. We might start seeing more of that. Those are entertaining. They are. The Match, like, who's in between? Is it Rogers and someone else? Is it Mahomes and Allen? Something like that.
I think it was
who's The Match?
2023 golf.
I don't know.
It's looking like Klay Thompson and Steph Curry versus Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes.
Oh, okay. So that's entertaining stuff. Like, we shouldn't have to go to other avenues of athletes to have like those entertaining personalities. You know, like golf needs to step it up in that way. Like, that's like saying, hey, if we weren't interested in baseball, like, hey, we're gonna round up some guys from the NFL and we're just gonna have some baseball games. Like, come watch them. Yeah. Or like, something like it's just sad on the golf's part. Like, step up, like showing off those personalities, or like have some Netflix documentary. Like, did you see that trailer for the NFL one with like Mahomes, Mariota, and I forget who, Kirk Cousins?
No.
It looks pretty cool. It like dives into the year, and you watch the trailer later. I think you'd like something like that. I don't have Netflix, so I probably won't watch it. Okay. But it looks like something worth like watching. I like, if you like QB1 or like anything like that, you're watching QB1 or like Last Chance U. Yes. It's like, it looks like kind of like that, but this season's NFL. Okay. So I think golf kind of needs that. I think they had something like that this year, maybe on Peacock, but I'm not sure. But I just think they need to show off their personalities a little more, Yeah. That's what gets people to watch. Yeah. Like, we're to the point where society is so connected to sports. Like, you can have anything at the click of a button. Like, you can watch anything like on something that can fit in your pocket. Yes. Like, if you're back in 1901 and you threw this out there, like, this would destroy the fabric of man. Yeah. Like, if you gave this to like some bum on the street in like 1903, they'd think he just came from like year three, like 30,000 or something. Yeah. Time traveler. You're a witch. Yeah. But, I don't know. Yeah. We're so connected. No, you're fine. And I totally agree with that. I think you need to push those personalities and get those characters out there. Kind of almost, I wouldn't say WWE-esque, but you need like some entertainment other than just guys hitting the ball and trying to put it in a hole. Because I think it's exciting and I like to watch it. But if you had some drama, maybe, in which we kind of have with the whole live guys and the PGA Tour guys, but it's only been at majors is when you hear it. Now you're going to hear it
every week because they're all under one umbrella again. They're all here. So maybe we will get that. And especially with, hey, Rory was adamant about certain guys. Maybe, in the team aspect, he's on somebody's team that he doesn't care for. What's he going to do? Is he going to throw? You never know. Yeah. Tune in and find out. I think it's good for golf at that aspect.
I think that's why the NBA is like killing it so much, like within the United States viewership and like internationally, they're pretty big. They're starting to get pretty big. It's because like they have these guys walking into the arena with wacky outfits and like it's like a meme. They have Patrick Beverley coming out of the stands with a camera showing the ref a picture of him getting fouled.
Yeah.
They have John Morant waving around a gun, but when he comes back from suspension, everyone's watching that game.
Oh, yeah.
Like all this stuff is just so intertwined with the players that it's almost like it surpasses the game actually being played to a certain point. So like the sports that are very, what's the word I'm looking for? Like classic or like, unwritten woolly kind of like stickler for the rules. So like the MLB is one of those, and they're making changes to like adapt to the viewers. They're making the games shorter.
Yes.
They have like wild celebrations now. Like they have people like say the Pirates, they're putting on this wacky suit jacket and waving around a sword.
Yep.
The pitchers, like they're starting to get a little more like, I don't know, they're celebrating a little more. And like they're letting loose a little more. You see Austin Hedges the other day, his bat flip after his first home run of probably his life.
Yes.
Like that's what people want to see.
And I think that's the day and age that we live in. You're supposed to get a little excited about things like that, but you see somebody hit a hole in one, the crowd goes nuts, right? And then there's high fives and hugs on the tee box, and that's it. Ride the putter down there. Give me the Happy Gilmore. You don't have that because it's too. Oh, there's a word for it, and I don't want to say the wrong word, but it's too classical almost. It's too uptight.
That's what I was going to say. A little uptight. When you think of the biggest celebration in golf, what do you think of? Just Tiger Woods like going like that?
Yeah.
That's a normal day in any other sport.
Yes.
Like I wouldn't mind seeing some guy running around the green, like fist pumping and like, jumping in the crowd, jumping up and down. Or like hitting a bad shot and like throwing some obscenities out or like smashing his club on the ground.
When you get like the Waste Management Open, it's earlier in the year, and they have that, I think it's like the 16th green is completely surrounded by grandstands, and people are, champagne showering their beers and stuff and roaring, and Ricky Fowler's pumping up the crowd, even though you got to be quiet on the golf course. And I get that. I understand that. But when something crazy's going on, you got to expect it and get the crowd going, because you're there to almost sell yourself. You're a promoter of yourself in a way. Get the people out there to see you, and then you're going to have bigger purses in the future for tournaments you may win.
And like him or not, John Daly, like maybe that's why he's such a big personality. He puts himself out there. He's like doing some wild stuff all the time. So like maybe that's the way it's got to go. I don't know, like maybe to that extreme, but just like not the most emotion you see whenever you're watching golf is a guy just taking his hat off and shaking hands with someone else after a round. Like, still have some respect for the game, but if baseball can do it and add a little flavor, a little je ne sais quoi to the game, I think golf can do it too.
Yeah, I think you're right. And just talk about Daly real quick. He made loudmouth pants because it was his personality just spewing out into his wardrobe, and it's taken off for him. Who doesn't want a pair of loud ass pants when you're going to a golf outing? I want them. I wear them. It happens. And I think you're going to see more of that. You're going to see more of the personality spilling out. And I think that's only good for golf. I really do.
Yeah, it's got to get out of that mentality of, hey, golf is just for one part of society. I think that's where it begins, is like switching that mentality, like, hey, you have to be rich to be able to play this. Or like, no, like how about start making more par 3 courses that you only have to pay like, $15 or go out to hit balls at the range, or, just start doing stuff like that.
I heard there's a commercial and it keeps saying no matter age, race, gender, skill level, come out and play. If you want it to be accepted, you got to change your ways a little bit for your viewers. And if you want to get those casual viewers, you got to change a little bit. And a little bit of change isn't bad for a sport sometimes. Like you said with baseball, it was long overdue. It was a slow, drawn-out process, and you're cutting 45 minutes off of a game, and viewership's up. So I think that's a plus. I don't think you can make pace of play any faster for the pros or anything, but there's subtle changes you could make. I'm pretty sure.
You ever see those guys that do speed golf? They don't count hits.
Yeah,
they have 3 clubs and they're like running around the course.
They count their hits. They're just running. Yes,
Do they count like the stroke?
Yeah, they count their strokes. And the one guy has the world record for shooting like under par in like 35 minutes, full round of 18, something like that. It's ridiculous. Geez. He's booking ass. Driver, 7-iron, putter. That's all they carry. That's all he carries. And some tees and an extra ball or two. Yep. And his scorecard in his back pocket. Yeah. How
do you practice that? Do you just say like coming through? Like, what if there's a foursome in front of you? Like you're
playing through.
Like I'm hitting you.
Playing through. Now you let him off first thing in the morning.
Yeah. Like, hey, don't mind old like Johnny over there. He's just trying to golf par in half an hour. Yeah. Imagine that, like a round in 30 minutes.
I couldn't.
How do you keep score? Do you just go like 1? Like you're not writing your score down.
No, you mentally, and then when you're running, he writes it down as he's running. Yeah. He's got his scorecard in his back pocket. But
I don't know if I could enjoy that.
No, that's too much.
They should incorporate like carts, but you can like wreck into the others, or like like going low and like burn someone out, like spin someone out.
Like a demolition derby style.
Yeah, just a little zest. Needs a little zest in golf.
All right.
That's all I got. Yep. Golf talk went better than expected, I think. I didn't expect much from golf.
Hey, but it took us 15 minutes to talk about golf, so that's good.
Yeah, well, got anything else before you wrap up?
I don't have anything, brother.
Yeah, me neither. Not really any Jags or anything this week. I mean, it was a quiet weekend.
Real quick.
Bocce, golf outing.
Yeah, real quick. Happy Dad's Day to all the dads out there. Any kids listening to this, even if you watch it a day or two late, go hug your dad. Tell him thanks for everything, taking you practice, whatever it is. Practice, rehearsals, recitals, whatever. Just go thank your dad.
Taekwondo. Don't forget that.
Yeah. Whatever it is, just go thank him. Tell him Happy Dad's Day.
Because he's a confirmed dad.
I am.
Happy Father's Day, Dan.
Thanks, buddy.
Father of the pod.
I am. Thank you.
Pod father.
The pod.
All right. Well, I got no Jags. So, are we out?
I think
Episode
we're out.
48? Yeah, we're good to go. Like, subscribe, share. I think golf this weekend, right?
Yes.
Is that our out?
Yes. Yes. We got to figure that out.
We'll let Andrew handle that one.
Yeah, we'll get Andrew in on it and we'll tweet it out. We got to figure out if we have a hard number and stuff, but
yeah, I don't know. He's been slacking.
Yeah. And then he misses this one. We were going to discuss it today. No.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah. Episode 48.
All right, you're good.